Right, now logically the next easiest thing to remove is going to be this pitch fader, because you've already taken one screw out of that side to get that little earth strap off anyway. So you might as well just take this one out and take this off next. And once you've got the screw out, this is why I said to take the plastic cover off first and unplug everything first, because then all you have to do is take that out and pull it through and the wire's already disconnected. So once you've got the pitch fader off, put that aside somewhere safe and get another bag to put the screws in and label it pitch fader, so keep those screws separate and put them somewhere with the rest of them. Right, now the next thing to remove is this little target light here, or the little pop-up light, and it looks like this from underneath, and so there's just two screws holding that in, so which actually they look exactly the same as the pitch bender screws, but keep them separate anyway. Right, so once you've taken the screws out, another bag, pop-up light, screws in the bag, seal that up, and then you can just go ahead and pull this out, which shouldn't take much effort. And because you've unplugged the wires already beforehand, they may get caught. There we go. And the whole thing should just come out like that. Well, you can see it's looking pretty bare now, and the last thing to remove off the bottom here is this bit here, which is the 4533 button, the start and stop button, and the power switch. So to take this off, there's actually two or three different types of screw here. There's some black ones and some silver ones. So let me get the camera a bit closer and we'll show you what the difference is. Right, now you can see there's a few different types of screws on this one. There's a black one there, a black one there, a black one there, and a silver one there and a silver one there. Now those two silver ones are two different sizes. That one's really small and that one's big. So you won't get those mixed up, but you make sure you don't put a black one in the place of a silver one. So here's some markers on the screen just to show you where they are, and so you remember in what order you put them back. So remember, going from the left to the right, it's black, silver, black, black, silver, black. Right, so you can go ahead and take all the screws out. Now you've got the screws out, another labelled bag, which has got 33, 45, start and stop button and power switch. So put that aside with the rest of them. Right, once you've got the screws out the bottom of this, you can go ahead and take this power switch section out, which is a switch, push to make switch. Now you have to take that off separately because the wires for that are actually soldered on in there, whereas the wires for this aren't, they're on a plug. Now if you take this part out now, which is the power switch and the start and stop button, you can actually pull that through because you unplugged it earlier. It's got a plug on the end, so because you unplugged it you can pull that out. Now while you've got this off, it's a good idea to give this a clean. You can see all that muck on the edge there, look. So you wouldn't be able to get to that ordinarily, so while it's off, take the circuit board off, which you can do because you've taken that screw out, and just basically give it a clean with a bit of damp cloth or something. Right, okay, with this power button, all you have to do with that is literally just push that through there like that. Okay, now you've stripped everything off the bottom, it's just a case of flipping it over and I'll show you what to do underneath. Right, now the next thing is to remove the 3 screws from the middle of this motor assembly here, but don't actually take them out, just loosen them off, and I'll show you why in a second. Right, now once you've loosened the screws, you should be able to just negotiate this bit off. Now don't take the screws out of that. I'll show you something you can do. Okay, if you just get some electrical tape like this, or masking tape or sellotape or any kind of tape, and just bung some tape over the top of the screws like that, just to hold the screws in place. And what you can do is you can just put that whole piece aside and the screws are left in there and they're not going to come out because you put tape in there to hold them in, and just put that aside. Right, now there's 3 screws holding this circuit board on. One here, and one up here. So take those out next. And another bag with the screws in. There should be 3 screws on that main circuit board. Probably spelt wrong, but there you go. Right, now once you've taken the screws out the circuit board, don't actually take the circuit board out yet. Leave it in there for a second. we need to take the screws out of this power board first before we take the circuit board out. So if I get the camera close in on there, right now on this power board here, you can see there's a screw there, and if you look just in there, you can see there's a screw in there. Now that screw and that screw has got to come out, and once you get those two screws out, there's nothing else actually holding this board on. So but still, don't take it out just yet. I'll explain why in a minute. So let's take these screws out first. And as usual, another bag, power circuit board on that one. Put the two screws in there. This bag actually has a monkey on the back. Yeah. Right, now where the power cable actually comes into the turntable, there's a little metal plate on here. So you need to take the screws out for this, but you won't be able to remove the power cable straight after you take the screws out. I'll explain in a minute, just bear with me. Another bag, power cable plate. Drop the screws in there. This bag also has a monkey on it. Right, now if you move this plate, you can see there's a hole there, but that plug there, okay, is not going to go through that hole. So at this point you have two options. You can either snip the plug off with a pair of scissors or cutters and replace the plug after you've done this. Personally, I would rather keep the original moulded plug on there. So your other option is to desolder the actual wires off of here, which is what I'm going to show you to do now. Right, now on my one there's a cable tie on here. Yours might not have that, but if it has, just chop it off. But be careful not to cut the actual cable. Right, now to desolder these, it doesn't require a massive amount of soldering skills, but it would help to understand how they're put on. It will make it easier for you to desolder it. Now all they do is they strip about that much of the wire off, they wrap it around the post, and then they just put solder on it. So when you desolder it, you have to keep heat on there and then basically unwrap it from around the post. Now it could be either way, so if it doesn't work one way, try it the other way. But don't have too much heat on there at once, because you can just desolder the complete post off of the circuit board. So if you hold in the soldering iron on there for more than say 5 or 6 second periods at a time, take it off for a little while and let it cool down before re-attempting. Okay, so again, hold the heat on, and then just, okay, I can see that now it's put on that way round. So I need to twist it the opposite direction. So I need to keep heat on there and then untwist it. Okay, the wire might get quite hot, so you will have to sort of take your fingers off it every now and again. There we go, so that's one off. You can see it's twisted round. And then do the live. There we go, so you can see it untwisting like that. Now you will have to cut those off and re-strip those before you solder it back on, because they look really scabby and crap. So make sure you don't just solder those back on like that. I'll show you how to put them back on anyway. So okay, so now you've desoldered that, the cable and its plate should go straight through that hole. So you have to put the plate on its edge to get it through the hole, but it will go through like that. Oops. And there you go, and you've removed the power cord. Right, next thing to do is to remove this component here. Now I'll explain what this is in another video, but because it gets quite hot, there's like thermal paste around the base of it, so, and this stuff is really sticky and horrible, so try not to get it on your fingers. But it's just held on with two screws, which screws down this metal piece here and holds it on. So if you just take the screws out, well, now what this part actually is, it's a voltage regulator, and it could also be known as a rectifier, but when you pull it off, be careful, because that stuff causes suction and it's quite hard to get off. So once you peel it off, be careful, because the actual legs on that, or the prongs on that, are actually quite delicate, so be careful with that. And again, it's got loads of white sticky thermal compound all over it, because this thing gets quite hot. So just basically be careful with that. Don't get it on your fingers, it's really sticky and horrible and it stinks.